Live from Nashville, Tennessee, it's the Three. With the Studio C Band. And here's your host, Laura Harris-Smith.
Hi everybody, I'm Laura Harris-Smith and welcome to this special edition of The Three. NRB stands for the National Religious Broadcasters, and the annual NRB International Christian Media Convention is the largest nationally and internationally recognized event dedicated solely to assisting those in the field of Christian communications. It is the best place to network with Christian communication leaders from print, the web, radio, digital media, film, and television, not to mention the best place to promote a program. I've personally attended NRB numerous times as an author, but this year it was a first for me to attend as a broadcaster. The Three took our cameras and got to sit down with some special individuals and ask the questions that we know you want answers to about our country and where media is taking us. Take a look at some of the snippets from some of my favorite interviews there. So I am here with Stephen Strang. Stephen, you are the founder and the CEO of Charisma Media. And we might as well call it that because you have it for 42 years. You've been there. You're also an award-winning journalist and a very successful businessman. A second ago, we were talking about how you position things, not just an author, but you're always thinking forward about your audiences and your demographics. So God has obviously given you a brilliant mind. Now, I have a confession to make to you. I have wanted to meet you for a very long time. So, do you know why my autograph booth, we were in the same one today, but do you know why my book signing was right before yours?
Tell me.
Because I wanted to meet you.
Oh, wow.
So I booth stalked you. So I scheduled mine at 10, seeing that yours was at 11, and thank the Lord this worked out because I wanted to talk to you, not just about you personally, but also about your new book, God and Donald Trump. I mean, what a phenomenal thing, first of all, that you go back to the beginning. You were a part of the election. You got pulled into this with a governmental favor.
I say it's a fairly small way, but I've published lots of books.
Right.
As far as I know, about 2,500 over the years.
Mercy.
And I've had ideas for books before, and I had an idea for this book. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we'll assign someone, we'll recruit an author and have them write it. I wanted to write this myself because I had some involvement in the election. I interviewed Donald Trump during the campaign. We devoted an entire issue of Charisma magazine to the election and to the stakes of what was happening in our country. Mm-hmm. And I also published a number of articles by Christian prophets who said without a shadow of a doubt, against all odds, that Donald Trump would be president. Mm-hmm. It sounded crazy, but I felt, these were people that I knew and felt had credibility, and I certainly was praying that way, and I thought, if it comes true, this needs to have been on the record, because too many times when something happens, somebody will say, oh, I prophesied that, there's no documentation. Yeah. So we did it in Charisma magazine, and we did it in this book. And also, I was behind the scenes enough that I knew the Christian leaders. I knew a lot of them were not for Donald Trump initially. I wasn't. I was a Ted Cruz guy myself. But when it came down to Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, there were a lot of things we didn't know about Donald Trump. Was he really a true conservative? Would he really follow through on what he said? We didn't know. We knew exactly what Hillary Clinton would do. And, Hillary Clinton wrote a book that said, what happened? My book answers the question. And the answer is that millions were praying and that God intervened. Right. God raised up a very unlikely, a very imperfect man, but he has always used imperfect people. I mean, look at Moses. How about David? Even the Apostle Paul killed Christians. And so God uses people, and America's at a tipping point. Are we going to lose our country in a way with our Judeo-Christian values and our constitutional government? And I believe that nobody is stronger than Donald Trump. I think time has proven this. I didn't really see it. I knew him from the media, having 3 marriages, being kind of a reputation as a playboy, and I was turned off by that. I liked Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz. And
who wrote the foreword for the book, by the way.
That's right. It was a great honor to have him write the foreword, and it's a great foreword. And, you know, he, as soon as he dropped out of the race, he backed Donald Trump.
Right, he
and
did, immediately.
And because he felt that Donald Trump would actually listen and that he had the right policies.
Yeah.
And so all this is in the book, and I try to lay it out for the reader so they can come to their own conclusion. I'm probably being more dogmatic in my conversation than I am actually in the book, because I knew this would go into secular circles.
That's right.
I've done a secular media, including today, and it's been interesting that even though there are people that I am almost certain are more liberal than I am, shall I say, they've been respectful.
Yeah.
And I think I want the reader to say, maybe there's something, you know, maybe God did speak to these people.
Yeah.
Maybe he has raised up this person. Maybe, you know, I've been too critical of him. Because I think a lot of his critics, and he's done a lot to criticize, we all know that. But I think some of them, it's almost like they didn't give Donald Trump permission to be raised up or to be Christian. It's like they got some crazy idea of what a Christian should be. These are people that don't even care about God most of the time. And some Christians, very self-righteous Christians, look down. But when have we ever held a president up to that kind of standard? Never.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask you, because you have a section in the book called Trump and Evangelicals. So you hit the nail on the head. They were key to getting him elected.
Oh, I think it made all the difference in the election. And he knows that. And you know, during the Republican Party convention in July, he was reading teleprompter, he commented on the evangelicals, and then he went off script. And he said, I don't know that I deserve their support.
I remember.
And when I saw that, I thought, you know, that's really a very humble statement.
It is. I remember
and he seems to appreciate Christian leaders, he respects Christian leaders, he listens to it, and he is more accessible than any other president in recent memory to Christian leaders and to hearing our concerns, and he's become our champion. When I was on Fox and Friends, notice how I dropped that in. I made that point, and they tweeted it out. I thought it was like really interesting that they tweeted out that Donald Trump is the champion of Christian issues and Christian values.
Yeah. Well, I had shared with you before that I remember at that very first debate when all 17 of them were up there, and I texted my brother afterwards and I said, so who do you have your eye on? And from the very beginning, we felt like there was something on Trump. There was an article in your magazine about a modern day Cyrus, the prophecy about that, and I saw that there. And so fast forward several months, but he still doesn't have the nomination. And I had a vision of him on the Capitol steps with his left hand on the Bible and his right hand in the air. It was a waking vision.
Well, if I'd known that, I would have put it in the book.
Well, we're pastors, so I have to be very careful with endorsements from the pulpit. I blamed it on the Lord, and I just would tell the vision, but we actually brought a copy of the magazine of the article of the Cyrus prophecy and read it in church. We just put it on you, and said, this is what's out there. Let not your heart be troubled.
Of course, it was Lance Wallnau, and for me, it was the whole thing about Cyrus that persuaded me. I thought, if God can raise up Cyrus, he can use Donald Trump. And of course, as I've gotten to know him and I've seen his policies, and as I've researched, I've lived this for the last almost a year. I've come to respect him, but my book is not an apologetic for Donald Trump. I do not make him look perfect. He isn't perfect. In fact, he'll be the first to admit that. In fact, one time he met with some Christian leaders, and he made this comment: while you were pursuing a higher calling, I was out making money. Now, we don't expect a billionaire to say that. But what did that show? It showed that he had respect for the clergy. He was raised a Presbyterian. His mother was a very devout Presbyterian. He went to Norman Vincent Peale's church as a young adult. Norman Vincent Peale even wrote about him a couple of times in his books. This is also documented in the book. And he said that Donald Trump, who was young at the time, was a a fine young businessman who had a good future. So it almost looks prophetic looking back. He is absolutely a self-confident leader. He just is. But when I interviewed him, I was surprised at how soft-spoken he was. And I had only 10 minutes with him. I'd asked for 20. They gave me 10. I was glad to get it. But you know, 10 minutes on a TV interview would be a pretty long time.
Yes, it is.
So I just packed in the questions. And the thing that I wanted to comment on is that while I was there with him, I had his attention.
Really?
I had the opportunity with 5 other journalists to interview George W. Bush. And it was a nice interview. But George W. Bush acted like he'd rather be somewhere else, not Donald Trump. And not only that, but when CBN interviewed him before I did, so there was a minute or two of transition, and he went over to the table and picked up a water bottle. Then he asked me if I wanted water. And I said,
Really?
no, I said, no, thank you. But as I reflected on it, I thought, you know, why did he do that? I think he was just being hospitable, probably didn't think anything about it. And I say that to say that I've seen a certain level of humility that the news media, you know, they play up everything he's done, and they do if the glass is half full, they say it's half empty, you know. And so Donald Trump is growing in the job. I think he's done a great job so far. He's becoming more presidential, and I think he'll continue to be.
And you have another book coming out this fall. So before we go there, okay, I asked you for 10 minutes. Can you give me 20?
You can ask.
Okay, good. So don't go away. Stay close. We have more, an interview with Stephen Strang. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching The Three. But you know, it dawned on me that I really need to officially introduce myself to many of you, even though I've been in television for 50 years. My parents put me in my first commercial at age 3, and that path carried me all the way to the Shop at Home TV network where I was a host. I'm a wife of 34 years to Chris, a mom to 6 adult children, and a grandmother to 8 so far. I'm an author of, goodness, over 20 books and ebooks, and whatever I write, you can count on the fact that it will help you physically, emotionally, and spiritually because my passion is body, mind, and spirit health. I'm a certified nutritionist with a degree in original medicine. And my husband and I pastor a phenomenal church in Nashville called Eastgate Creative Christian Fellowship, where we help people get healthy body, mind, and spirit. So if you're ever in the Nashville area, I hope you'll stop in and say hi. You know, God had a son, but what he wanted was a family. So he sent Jesus to come and get us. Likewise, I had a TV career, but what I really want is a TV family. As you can tell by now, I have always had one foot in media and one foot in ministry, and it's all collided now on The Three. So please become a part of The Three's family. Visit the link on your screen to give a tax-deductible gift and help me purchase airtime that takes this fun, relevant, faith-based show to a faithless world. Some TV ministries would then call you a donor or a partner, but I'm going to call you family. Go to the link and become a part of my TV family today. I can't do it without you. Thanks. Hi, everybody. You know, I'm very sympathetic to people struggling with chronic sicknesses, especially neurological issues, because as a young girl, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and I used to have a constant electrical storm in my brain, which would cause horrible convulsions. Well, those decades of suffering, combined now with my degree in nutrition and my growing respect for essential oils and the amazing healing properties God put in them on the 3rd day of creation, compelled me to create my very own oil blend called Quiet Brain. Quiet Brain is different than any blend I've ever seen because it's comprised of oils whose special composition is sesquiterpenoids, and they can cross the blood-brain barrier, which not all neurological medicines and not even all essential oils can do. But Quiet Brain's 8 ingredients, frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood, lavender, and more, do. Our case study resulted in testimonies of considerable relief, elimination, at the very least support for PTSD, insomnia, migraines, stress, anxiety, seizures, and more. These aren't medical claims. Everybody's body varies, and so your results will vary. But they are testimonies that cannot be argued with. So go to quietbrainoil.com for our patent-pending oil. It comes in a roller bottle, a dropper bottle, which is great for diffusing, and there you'll also find our nasal inhalers, candles, shampoo and conditioner, and even our gift box with all the products, plus a diffuser. And download the free ebook while there to understand the science behind Quiet Brain. Again, that's quietbrainoil.com. Hey, what do you think of when I ask about your health? Probably just your diet, weight, or a sickness. But health involves so much more than just the body. You also have a spirit and a mind that need nourishing, and the Healthy Living Handbook is going to do just that. It contains a top 10 list of healthy living habits for your spirit, where we'll discuss your prayer life, the Holy Spirit, things you may be substituting for God and not even know it. Then Section 2 contains a top 10 list for your mind. I'm going to help you get organized, deal with stress, help you laugh more, and never be discouraged again. There's even a relationship quiz there that helps you make sure the people in your life are the right ones. Then in Section 3, there's a top 10 list for your body. We'll study the 3 biggies, meat, wheat, and sweet, and other things like weight loss, water consumption, and there's even my essential oils list that tells you which oils help the top 50 common household ailments. Go to lauraharrissmith.com and get your copy of the Healthy Living Handbook today. What if there was a reset button for your body, mind, and spirit? There is! I wrote the 30-Day Faith Detox so you could cleanse your body, renew your mind, and heal your spirit. There are 30 daily devotionals to confront emotional residues from past trials, what I call faith toxins, prayers to refresh your spirit, and then through yummy strategic foods, each of your 15 body systems are cleansed for a total body detox. People are losing weight and gaining faith. Go to lauraharrissmith.com today to get your copy of the 30-Day Faith Detox. Welcome back to theTHREE, everybody. And now we continue with more interview segments that I was able to grab while at this year's National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville. Take a look. All right. Well, I would ask if it was a part 2 to this coming out. Can you tell us when it's coming out and what the book is titled, first of all?
Well, we thought maybe we should do a sequel. This book has been more successful than we thought. And of course, there's a lot going on. And so my next book is going to be called Aftershock. And the subtitle is Donald Trump's Seismic Impact on Faith and Culture in America.
That's genius.
And it's probably going to be more of a general market. I'm not going to probably talk about charismatic prophets as much and that type of thing and all the inside baseball evangelical stuff. It'll be from a Christian perspective, no question. But look how he's affecting things in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that he could get the Sunni Muslims to band together with Israel, which is against Iran, but which is kind of what's happening. And then some of the other seismic shifts with his judicial appointments. Of course, his appointing Neil Gorsuch made his first 4 years successful as far as I was concerned. He had accomplished nothing else, but he's accomplished many, many things. And the thing is that the left had, if I can call them that, had a free reign in our country. It was like they were getting everything they wanted, and they were becoming more and more and more hostile toward Christians and the things of the Lord. And I believe that, as I've told you before, that God has raised up this man at this moment in history to do something that could anybody else have done it. It's a little bit like Winston Churchill. He was not that popular in England.
He wasn't, you're right.
There was a lot you could criticize him about, but he had a sense of destiny. He believed from the time he was a child that God had a special purpose for him and that his destiny was to save Western civilization, which is exactly what happened.
That is what he did.
And I can only speculate about President Trump. I'm hoping to interview him for the second book, and I'll ask him if he has this kind of sense of destiny. My feeling is that one of the reasons he surrounds himself with Christian leaders is because, they talk to him about God and the importance of doing all these things, and it kind of reinforces whatever this ambiguous feeling that he has inside about the fact that maybe, he was a billionaire. He is very, very successful by nearly every measure.
And not taking a salary now.
He lost a lot becoming president. He had to take his businesses, quit making money, have somebody else run it. He can't even know what's going on. And he's focused on trying to make America great again. And one of the points I make in the book is that Christian leaders, we feel that if America's going to be great again, it's got to be morally great again. And I believe that he's bringing back some moral principles that are badly needed.
Isn't that an amazing statement by someone who is so criticized for immorality, but look what God is doing in the mix of it. I love the words and the title of the new book, Aftershock and Seismic. Okay, do you think the aftershocks will ever end? I mean, I'm talking about now from the left, you mentioned the left, shock meaning the shock and awe that they are still in denial and all of that. Do you think that will ever go away?
Well, it's going to take a lot to
Yeah.
shift this country.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in a day. It's not going to happen with one politician.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that the Christian community, the body of Christ as we call it, has a kind of a second chance. And we need
I do
to do something.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Martin Luther King talked about how the forces in this world kind of bind it. And he tried to work to unbind it so that God could kind of get in the cracks and crevices. And I think that that's kind of what's happening with Donald Trump is that, you know, all of his bravado and all the things that we don't like sometimes, he's loosening this thing. And now Christians and the Spirit of God has got to get in there to try to change our culture. Because we are a very, very divided country, and it's more than just politics.
That's what I was thinking. And speaking of Dr. King, his niece, Alveda King, endorses the book. I actually got to meet her the night before the inauguration
She's
in
a
Washington,
wonderful
D.C.
lady.
I guess it was at the Christian Inaugural Gala. Look at the lineup on this. Michelle Bachmann, Dr. Robert Jeffress, Kenneth Copeland, I mean, on and on and on. So you're obviously well respected. Can I turn the interview for just a moment? I want to ask you a couple of personal questions. Can we do that? So you have been married for how long?
43 years.
43 years. Congratulations first on that. So that means that you got married and then started Charisma.
That's right.
Like immediately afterwards.
Well, within a year or two, yes.
Wow. And then you have two sons. Tell us about them.
Well, my older son, Cameron, is the founder of Relevant Magazine, which is, you know, the cool magazine for young evangelicals, and he's doing a great job. He was actually voted one of the 100 most influential evangelicals by somebody who makes up those lists. And I'm very proud of him. He's doing a great job. My younger son, Chandler, is into music and recording and podcast and editing and engineering, and I'm proud of him. My wife, Joy, is, you know, not only co-owner of our company, but she's the CFO. So if I want a check, I have to go to my wife and ask for a check. And she stood by me through thick and thin, and it hasn't been easy. It's still not easy. We're not doing it if it's easy or hard. And she's a great lady, and I obviously love her very much.
Well, so we're at NRB. Where do you think media is headed in terms of its influence? Do you feel like media, Christian media, is genuinely making a difference in our culture?
Yes, I think it is. Now, would we like it to be more? Of course. Can we criticize it? I guess so. But it's making an impact. You never know exactly what's going to happen, what someone's going to be helped. And I'll tell you this about Christian media, since you mentioned it. 15 years ago, Donald Trump called Paula White's office. Now, I've known Paula White for 25 years. In fact, my wife and I had dinner with her, and she told us this story of how this celebrity businessman called her office and said that he watched her on Christian TV late at night, and he had some questions about God, and would she be willing to come to Trump Towers and meet with him? Well, of course she was. A friendship ensued, and then later, when he was thinking of running in 2012, he called Paula, and he said, you need to bring together some of your preacher friends who know how to pray. He said, I'm thinking of running for president. I'm not going to ask for their backing, their endorsement. I'm going to ask them to pray.
Wow.
So he pulled this group together, which included Darrell Scott, the African-American pastor that has become a great Trump supporter. He was very skeptical initially, but they met, and in the book, God and Donald Trump, you know, I report on what happened in some of these meetings. Also, David Jeremiah, who is very respected minister and Christian broadcaster, had a conference in New York City. On the front row were Donald and Melania Trump. And afterwards they greeted him behind and they said, Dr. Jeremiah, we never miss your show. So here Christian TV is getting into places, and I'm sure that there were other influences too, and we could probably use lots and lots of examples. I mean, don't we all know people that were led to Christ because of Christian TV.
Right, yeah. So then in all of that, and you mentioned Trump again, so I'm just going to go for the gold here. Is there anything surprising that you learned when you were researching about him and getting to know him and writing about him?
You know, I think I was surprised about his Christian background. I didn't really know anything about it. His mother's Scottish, and her family was a member of the Free Church of Scotland, not the state church.
Yeah.
The Scots call them the Wee Frees, and they're very, very conservative. And she raised him in the church. He was in church, you know, virtually every Sunday. He went through confirmation. Well, if you go through confirmation, you know about the basics of Christianity. And he was in Norman Vincent Peale's church as a young adult. So he had a basis. Now, of course, he got away from it. But how many people get away from their faith?
Right.
And as imperfect as he is, we as Christians believe that God forgives and he changes people's lives. And someone told me, he said, isn't it interesting that the Christians who believe in forgiveness are willing to forgive Donald Trump? The liberals who don't believe in forgiveness aren't willing to forgive him.
That's really funny. Well, earlier today when I was trying to work out this opportunity for us to be together, I suppose it was, I don't know if it was one of your publicists, it was the two assistants that you had down at the booth. One of them looked at me and said about you that of the books that you've authored and that of all the things that you have done so far in your literary career, in your career in media, that they felt like there was a new mantle on you that has just come and that is going to be a game changer for you in your future.
Well, that's nice to know.
Yeah, I don't know which one it was. She needs a raise, whoever she is. She was just convinced that just like God has raised up Donald Trump, that he has raised you up for such a time as this. What does that feel like? Do you feel that shift happening in your life?
I think so. I was trained as a secular journalist. I was a newspaper reporter. That was going to be my career.
Yeah.
But the media was very liberal. You know, as I got into it, there's a lot not to like, and I thought, I don't want to spend my life doing this. So I had the idea to publish a little magazine called Charisma. And then when this opportunity came up, and I decided to assign it to myself, some of my staff encouraged me not to do it. They said, there's too many books on Trump, and we don't know if we can get publicity. But I just felt something, and now not only this book, and it's opened a lot of doors. A lot of doors.
I can only imagine.
And I believe that the next book will too.
Great insight. Wow. Well, then thank you for joining us today on The3, everybody. We know that you could be watching anything right now. And I speak on behalf of everyone at The3 when I say thank you for choosing us today. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time on The3.